So a few months ago, Matt Diavella put out a video titled The Era of Upgrades, and if you haven't watched that yet, I'll leave a link down below. I highly recommend you go watch it. It's a fantastic video. But to summarize, he discusses how massive companies like Apple and Samsung release new phones every single year and puts pressure on us, the consumer, to buy into these upgrades. And it got me thinking a lot about camera equipment and how the rules apply very similar to camera companies as well as phone companies. Recently, in the last couple of years, I found myself on filmmaking forums seeing more and more posts coming out about speculation of new camera equipment or upgrades that are constantly happening, and it's very overwhelming as a creative. I feel like these camera companies are putting the same pressure on us as the phone companies to constantly upgrade our equipment, and it got me thinking, why? I feel like with these constant camera upgrades, they're not a massive jump in technology, and I feel very similar to the way that phones are now. I've upgraded my camera systems probably about half a dozen times in my career, and each time I did so, it was because a massive upgrade in technology came out at the time, and it made me want to push myself further as a filmmaker. Now, this journey started way back in 2004 when my parents bought me my first point and shoot camera when I was a teenager, and it took very average photos and the video quality was about 144p. But that camera was great to play with, and it just got me exploring my love for filmmaking. Now, a few years later, I saved up about $600 and I bought myself this Sony Handycam. I filmed my first gigs with this Handycam, and it really solidified my love for filmmaking and made me want to become a music video director at the time. Plus, I found this camera to be a massive jump in quality compared to the point and shoot that I had. But please remember, this is the early 2000s that we're talking about, and technology at the time was very, very slow. A few years later, I moved to Brisbane and I used the leftover savings that I had to buy a HD Handycam to have that crispy quality 1080p footage. But not long after this purchase, I found out that DSLRs were starting to utilize video in their cameras, and that was a huge change in the film industry. With this huge shift in technology, I was at film school at the time actually, and our lecturers were saying we don't know where the industry is going to go now because cameras like Red are around and DSLRs are doing video. So once I caught wind of the DSLRs doing videos, I quickly sold my Handycam and upgraded to this 600D. Now, I bought this camera with the kit lens and the nifty 50 for about $1,000 on a really dodgy Chinese website, and it took about a couple of months to get to my house, but I got it eventually. I filmed my first ever music video on this camera as well as countless other gigs, and at the time I wanted to be a music video director, and this camera was perfect for what I wanted. So a couple of years later, I graduated from film school and I moved to Melbourne, and I wanted to be a full-time music video director, so I upgraded to the Canon 6D. Now, if you're familiar with DSLRs, you know that the jump in technology between the 600D and the 6D is very, very significant. And once again, I filmed countless music videos and gigs with that camera, and eventually wanted to upgrade to something massive that was gonna last me long term and I could move into high-end production, and that's when I decided to purchase the FS7, which is what I'm filming on now actually. I found myself doing this massive upgrade because I told myself once I made this purchase that I wouldn't have to upgrade my camera for a very long time, and this would last me for ages. And it's been nearly 5 years since I bought this camera, and it's still going strong, and I don't see myself upgrading anytime soon. Now, I had a golden rule when I was doing these upgrades. I told myself I would never upgrade my camera system unless I fully mastered what I had at the time. That way, when I went to justify myself purchasing this upgrade, I treated it as a reward in my career. So as you can tell with what I've just explained with all of my upgrades, you can see from the point and shoot to Sony FS7, every camera I had in between was a massive jump in technology. But now, I feel as if the jumps in technology isn't that great. The most overwhelming thing that I saw on these filmmaking forums is when the Blackmagic 4K pocket cinema camera came out. It turned a lot of heads in the industry and everyone was really excited about it. And so much so that there were a lot of back orders on the camera. But not too long after they released that camera, they decided to upgrade it and release a 6K version instead. And the upgrade happened so quickly that the people who were back ordered on the 4K pocket cinema camera could just transfer that money to the 6K version. When you think about it, how quick that turnover is batshit insane. What I'm finding now in filmmaking and photography, I'm seeing people selling their camera equipment that they have, which is nothing wrong with it. It's perfect, it spits out great images, and they're upgrading to the newest version. And I just don't understand that mentality. Like, your camera already has amazing megapixels and shoots 4K and, you know, 100 frames a second. Like, what more could you possibly want? Obviously, if you're selling like a DSLR to move up to an FS7 or a Red, I understand that. But in a lot of cases, I just see people selling these DSLRs or mirrorless cameras just to move up to the newer version. It's going back to that point of people, you know, upgrading their phones every single year. There's nothing wrong with your phone. Still does the same shit. Why would you want to upgrade it? And I feel like photographers and filmmakers are constantly wanting to upgrade to, you know, keep up with the Joneses so much, and they're so scared that they're going to be left behind. But I don't understand that. Your camera already spits out great images, as I was saying earlier. So why not just stick with the unit you have and really master the equipment that you've got? Invest in some lighting or audio or anything else to improve the shoots that you are doing. To put it into perspective, I still have my 6D and I still use it for all of the photo work that I need to do. And nothing wrong with this camera. It does spit out great images still. Side note though, it is really beaten up. Don't know if you can tell, but the screen is cracked and the rubber's falling off and there's scuff marks all around it. But there's still nothing wrong with the photos that it produces. Now, I am planning on upgrading this photo camera in the next couple of years, only because, you know, when it gets beaten a bit too much and, you know, every time you turn on, you're like, oh, is it gonna turn on? It's kind of at that point. When it comes to upgrading my 6D, I'm just gonna be finding something secondhand because I know I'm gonna save a shitload of money that way. And all the camera systems out there that are on Facebook Marketplace or on Gumtree, there's nothing wrong with them. I'm gonna give some advice for someone who is looking to get into the filmmaking or photography industry, and that's to not purchase something brand new. I'm on this big financial journey right now, and it's got me thinking about what I would do if I just didn't have much money and I had to start from scratch again. Now, the crazy thing is, with this 6D, I bought it brand new for about, I think it was like $1,600 or $1,800 about 6 years ago. But now this camera goes secondhand in a much better condition for about $500. And when you think about it, those savings are absolutely insane. Then what you could do is you could get a second-hand Sigma 35mm Art Series lens, which I'm filming on now actually, for about $500 as well. And within $1,000, you have yourself a setup ready to go that spits out amazing images, and you can get out there and just start creating great content. And after some time, once you've mastered this camera and you have all the ins and outs, you've bought some lighting, you've bought some audio as well, you can start charging clients for that money and you'll make that $1,000 investment back in no time. You know, a couple $500 jobs here or there, and you'll easily make the money back that you spent with the startup. So you don't need to spend thousands and thousands of dollars starting out. You can start with just $1,000, get a great camera system ready to go, and you'll have your career launching off in no time. If you wanted to spend $1,000 to get your career started about, like, you know, 10 years ago, it wouldn't have happened. Camera gear just back then was just way too expensive. But now it's accessible more than ever. So it's more of a motivator to go out and buy something secondhand to get your career started as a photographer or filmmaker. I guess the point of this massive rambling video is do some of your own research, find a camera system that you love, that you feel like you want to invest in, go find something secondhand, not brand new, and get yourself started in your career. If you're a filmmaker or photographer out there who actually got their career started off with some secondhand equipment, leave a comment down below with the setup that you had and the costs that are involved in it. I'm sure somebody will find it very interesting. And if you did find this video useful, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya!